Something unusual is happening in the Middle East, where thousands of American Marines are now arriving. Military ships are gathering, and tensions between the United States and Iran are rising again. But here is the part that makes the situation different. If a war actually begins between these two countries, it could shake global oil markets, disrupt international trade, and affect economics far beyond the Middle East. Even countries like Nigeria could feel the consequences through rising fuel prices, inflation, and pressure on government revenue. So the big question right now is simple. Are these troops preparing for war, or are they preparing to stop one? Because with Donald Trump issuing strong warning toward Iran and thousands of US Marines moving closer to the region, some analysts around the world are starting to examine every details of this military buildup. Because whenever large numbers of troops begin arriving in a region, it usually signals that something serious is developing. Military deployment like this are rarely random. So behind every movement of troops, ships, and aircraft, there is usually a strategic calculation. But here is something many people misunderstand. When troops move close to a potential conflict zone, it does not always mean war is about to begin. Sometimes it means the opposite, while sometimes the presence of military power is meant to prevent a war from happening. This strategy is known as deterrence. Deterrence works by making the cost of aggression too high. When one country sees that another country already has thousands of troops and advanced weapons nearby, it becomes much riskier to escalate the situation. However, deterrence only works when both sides believe the other side is willing to act. And that is where the situation becomes complicated. Because Iran is not a weak or isolated country that you all could think about. Over the past several decades, Iran has invested heavily in building a powerful regional military work. It has ballistic missile naval capability in the Persian Gulf, an alliance with groups across several parts of the Middle East like Hezbollah. So this means that if a conflict begins, it may not remain a simple two-country war. Instead, it will expand across multiple regions. Another important factor is this situation is geography. Iran sits near to one of the most critical energy routes on Earth, which we all know, the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway connects the Persian Gulf to global shipping routes, and nearly a fifth of the world's oil supply passes through it every day. So if tensions escalate and Iran decided to block or threaten these routes, the consequences could be immediate. Oil prices could surge within hours, like we are feeling here in Nigeria. Energy markets around the world would react instantly, and countries that depend heavily on imported fuel could experience sudden economic pressure. And this is why a conflict in this region has the potential to affect countries far away from the battlefield. For example, in Nigeria we are now, global oil prices fluctuation often have a direct impact on government revenue, transportation costs, and border economy. Like we are feeling now, what we are facing now. There's hike in our fuel prices. So Middle Eastern oil routes could therefore influence economic stability even thousands of kilometers away. But beyond economics, there is also the military reality. That we should all know. A full-scale invasion of Iran will be one of the most complex military operations in modern history. Because Iran has a population of around 90 million people and a military structure designed specifically to defend its territory. So the country's terrain includes mountains, deserts, and large urban centers that will make military operations extremely difficult. History has shown that war in such environment can last much longer than expected. Because during the Iraq War, if you can remember, the initial invasion phase happened quickly, but the conflict itself lasted for many years afterward. So the challenges of maintaining control and stability turn out to be far more complicated than the early military victories suggested. This is one reason why many analysts believe that what we are currently seeing may not be preparation of a full invasion, but rather a strategic positioning of forces. In other words, the troops may be there to send a message rather than to immediately start a war. But history has also teaches another lesson. Sometimes, wars begin not because countries planned them, but because tensions slowly build until a single event triggers a large confrontation. Yes, this could be a missile strike, an attack on a military base, or even a miscalculation between naval forces operating in the same waters. When military forces from rival countries operate close to each other, the margin for error becomes very small. That is why global leaders and analysts are watching the situation closely. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe this military build-up is a genuine preparation for war? Or do you think it is a strategic show of strength designed to force negotiations? Share your thoughts in the comment, because discussion like this often bring different perspectives to the conversation. So as this situation continues to develop, the world will be watching one key question. Are these troops arriving to start a war or arriving to prevent one? And if tensions between the United States and Iran continue to rise, another question becomes just as important. Which country actually holds the stronger strategic advantage? Is it the United States with its global military reach and advanced technology, or Iran with its geographic position, Strait of Hormuz, and regional influence? So let me know in the comment section. If you enjoy deep geopolitical analysis like this and want more documentaries explaining global events and how they affect countries like Nigeria, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next breakdown. Thank you for watching.